We'll go ahead and get started shortly. However, let's go ahead and start off with a poll first. So first I'm going to launch a poll, and just so I can get a gauge of what everybody's looking for today, what are you most interested in getting out of this Foresight AI tool today? And the options are solving for overstock, solving for stock out, saving time reordering, saving time in guesswork, everything, and unsure. And unsure is completely a valid answer. If you're not really sure what we're going over today, not a problem. This is definitely a learning session. And I'll give everybody a few more seconds to answer. And awesome. Okay, so it looks like a lot of folks are looking at solving for overstock and solving for stockouts, but definitely a little bit of everything. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. But let's go ahead and jump into it. So my name is Zoe, and I am an account manager here at Sin7. I've been here for about 18 months, but have been really focused on Foresight AI for about 6 months. So I'm pretty familiar with it and really excited that, with this move from Inventor to Foresight AI has really strengthened the relationship between the two. So I'm really excited to talk about this today. So first thing you might be wondering is, what is Foresight AI? So Foresight AI is a sales and inventory forecasting tool used to help you know what to order, when to order it, and how much you should be ordering. Forecast AI is designed to take out the guesswork of your inventory management to give you back time in reordering and capital in stock out and overstock amounts. So Foresight AI can help you make crucial business decisions in what products are performing well, allowing you to dig deeper into your business strategy to become more efficient and successful. That was a lot of words, but let's go ahead and hop straight into the demo so I can show you what this all actually means to you. So if you've used Core in the last few days, actually since I guess technically October 15th, we've really launched this Foresight AI piece. And you can essentially tell what it is by marked with this like purple branding. And I also think it's really cool that's going to show your last thing. But first things first is we're going to go over this inventory health. And this is going to give you that big snapshot of what Foresight AI is and what it's trying to solve for. Essentially, what does your inventory health look like? Also, just as a note, I'm going to pause right here. Please feel free to use the Q&A function throughout the presentation if you have any questions. I will likely get to those at the end, so hold tight. But if you have any Q&A, please feel free to throw that in there and I will get that at the end. So inventory health, what does this actually mean? So if you click into Explore, this is actually going to show you the product availability report of what items are overstocked, stocked out, and what is stocked regularly. So actually, before we jump into that, we're going to see a stock out amount, and that is out of your entire product library or product availability, how many are stocked out? So about 9.8%. Directly correlated to that number is this 89K. And that's essentially saying, because I have almost 10% of my items stocked out, I'm missing out about 89,000 in revenue monthly. Now that's a pretty big number. And I really like that Foresight AI gives you that snapshot immediately, because that's essentially a red alert of saying, hey, this is some low hanging fruit for you. You should be focusing on these items to reorder in order for you to sell them, because that's just missing revenue on the table. The other part of this is going to be the overstock value, which is, 650K, also really big, right? And I know that everybody can probably see to a certain extent, and I know that a lot of you are interested in solving for the overstock amount. Because we can see this 650K, it's going to give you an idea of not just what's overstocked, because Foresight AI is going to give you the power of what is actually overstocked, or versus, I guess, something that you're ordering frequently and you actually need a lot of because you're selling a lot of it. So this is going to give you that delineating factor of really like trimming off a lot of the overstock, what makes sense. And then on top of that, what might make sense for you to like no longer even be selling, not even just holding on to a lot of stock, but I'll go over it later, but what is a winner and a loser? So skipping forward, if we click into Explore, it's going to show you, like I said, this product availability report. And it's essentially going to tell you what items are overstocked, stocked out, and what is stocked at the regular amount. So we can see now, again, with the purple branding, what's a winner, which again, I'll go over later. And then what are these stock indicators? So we have some that are stocked out, some that are overstocked. And again, just giving you that bigger picture of what the stock levels actually look like. And we can also see, here's a pro tip: focus on your winners that are stocked out, because these are the items that are making you money and you're therefore missing out on that revenue. So if you have cash flow constraints, this should be an immediate priority and definitely an easy win for you. Just kind of as a note though, core reporting can be a bit static, as you may have realized. So I would recommend downloading the report and filtering by winners and stockouts, kind of focusing there. That's probably your best target. And then from there, everything should kind of start to flow into place. So we'll go ahead and go back and I'll show you some more features on the dashboard. So if we scroll down, you'll also see this over and under stock report, again with the purple branding. So this is going to break down even further what category a specific SKU falls into. So we have our stockouts, our healthy items, and our overstock. It's also going to give us, like I said, that last sync, and it's going to give us our it's going to give us location by location. So you can actually see the stockouts, the healthy stock, and the overstock by location, which I think is really helpful because yes, you can see how well a stock is doing overall, I think in core, but being able to get it down to an actual location level is really going to empower you to not only have to make less transfers, but essentially have the products in the right place at the right time to be able to sell, right? Because if you have them all, maybe you have perfectly stocked, but if it's all sitting at the warehouse, that's not really going to help you so much. So quick things to go over, and maybe a quick did you know that excess inventory can tie up 20 to 40% of revenue for businesses, hampering cash flow? It's quite a big amount, so something to definitely think about when looking at these overstock items. Did you also know that overstock can prompt discounts of up to 50% or more, hurting profit margins? Again, that's a pretty big number, right? If you're trying to think about we need to be getting rid of that overstock, all that money that you spent up front, all that margin's going to be gone if you really need to be discounting it in order to get rid of it. And lastly, did you know that the average US retailer has only 63% inventory accuracy, mainly caused by human error? Again, if we're thinking about this inventory health overall and we're looking at these stockouts and we're looking at these overstock, depending on what your depending on what your current reordering strategy is, you may just be reordering on a certain cadence because that's what you're used to doing. However, this Foresight AI tool is very dynamic in what it's actually able to focus on for your reordering, right? If you didn't already know, and I'll tell you right now, Foresight AI technology is primarily around your sales order history data, as well as AI, as well as algorithms. So it's constantly making micro adjustments based on your day-to-day changes of your sales order history and your inventory management. So that's kind of where that AI meets the human element error piece. And that's why that 63% inventory accuracy can go way up if you're using this tool. Next, we have winners and losers. Also, we have these awesome purple icons with an eye that can tell you a little bit more of each of these if you forget anything that I'm saying today. So as far as winners and losers, now we're going to be able to start to get more granular with our data offerings. So again, no more filing through Excel and creating pivot tables. This information is readily available and dynamic, and it's constantly changing, like I said, with those micro adjustments from your real-time sales and AI. So you can see that each category is going to show you a snapshot of the overall stock value and the share of the category across your business. So you're probably thinking, why does this matter? So you can quickly and easily identify which products are driving growth and which are holding you back. This is going to help you optimize those inventory levels of winners to maximize the revenue and eliminate lost sales from stockouts. So essentially, this is just going to give you that snapshot of your business strategy, or your overall business strategy. We can see that the winner stock share is pretty high comparative to the losers. That's awesome, right? We're having faster moving products that's making you more money. But it is kind of a way for you to think about your business strategy. Why are you keeping the losers, right? Are you keeping them not to offset, but to complement some of your winner items? Are you keeping them because you don't even know that they're losers? That's just kind of something that helps you make those better decisions. So kind of going off of that, we will pause for a quick poll, and I'm going to go ahead and launch it right now. So after going over these winners and losers in this data, how confident are you currently in your winners and losers? We have 1 being not confident and 5 being very confident. I'll give you a couple more seconds. Okay, so it looks like to be expected, most people are somewhat confident. We have quite a few amount of threes, a couple twos, a couple ones, and some people are very confident. I love to hear that. Just kind of giving you a thought of, if you're somewhat confident right now, this is really going to empower you to really get deeper into the data. It's already going to essentially do all those calculations for you that you would be doing in Excel or pivot tables, or if you don't even know where to start, this is already going to calculate it for you, saving you truly so much time. That way you're empowered to kind of pivot, change, think about it, and move forward. So next is stock trend. And again, this is going to be the last thing I go over on this page. I know I've been talking quite a bit. This is going to be, again, by the purple ForesightAI. And this is going to give you more insights as to how well your stock is performing by category over time. I really like it because it's a graph. Therefore, it's like a little bit digestible to see over time how you're actually doing. It's going to give you a direction of where you'd like to move in the future. So if you're looking at these, you can say, in the last few months, as far as like lost revenue to stockouts and overstock, looks like I've had quite a bit of overstock in the last, few days. That's probably something I should be focusing on. Similar to that, we have the lost revenue to stockouts, and that's really kind of flatline. So I'm probably pretty confident on that. That's not necessarily something I should be focusing on. And then we have the stockouts actual percentage. It looks like it's slowly been climbing over time. So that's probably something that I don't necessarily need to take an action on right now. I could if I wanted to, but definitely something I want to keep an eye on. So boom, right? Immediately I have these more static numbers with the inventory health report. But if I look at these stock trends over time, I get that better snapshot. So with that, we will actually go into another poll. I know, so quick. But this will be the last poll for now. Just over this page that we've gone over, what feature so far seems the most useful to you? We've gone over inventory health, over and under stock reporting, winners and losers insights, as well as the stock trends graph. And it looks like everyone is engaged for different reasons. I love that. It looks like there's a pretty high number of folks, though, just by a really high number. I should say, just inching out is the over and under stock reporting. And it looks like we have settled. Thank you, everyone, for participating in these polls. I really appreciate it. And agreed, right? If you are most interested in overstock and understock and ForesightAI solving for that, then of course you would be interested in that reporting. But again, you can see that you have access to all of these if you do sign up for ForesightAI. Awesome. Thank you again for participating. So we just went over this overview of all of this information, and now you're probably wondering, okay, so now I know what my problem is. I know what maybe I want to do with my business strategy. Now, how do I get there? So if we go down to purchases, we're going to see that we have this new smart reorder, and we could say because it says new. So if we click on smart reorder, this is going to be that actual, as the name probably has hinted at you, that actual smart reorder process. So like I said, ForesightAI is designed to fix a very big problem, right? What to reorder, when to order, and how much. So this is where the smart reorder comes to the picture. So like I said, ForesightAI is using your sales order history as well as AI and a bunch of algorithms to calculate that reorder quantity. So not only that, it's relying on your purchase order periods and your lead times to help with when to order. So there's a huge complexity behind the numbers that are going to be generated. And here are some ways that you want to view this page. So we have period, which is when you want to be ordering it. Do I want to be looking at today? Do I want to be looking at all the orders for the week, the next month, this month, next month? Or you can actually even do a custom period. In this case, we'll do this week. Reorder type. So this is going to be either purchases. So that's going to be just a regular or a standard PO that you would be ordering from a supplier. We also have transfers, and that's going to be from branch to branch or warehouse to branch, etc. And then assembly. So if you use production jobs, this is actually going to track, and you can probably tell from those three, the entire life cycle of your production. So this would be, if we were to think about it, big picture, the purchasing of the raw materials, and then it would be the assembly of those materials into a final good, and then it would be a transfer from those final materials to each of the branches that they need to be created in. So I would say that this is very, very useful and helpful in production jobs and does accommodate for those raw materials to be created into the final goods and to be, like I said, Foresight AI does focus on the final location. So it is going to be focused on making sure that those final goods are in the correct place. However, for now, we will just be looking at purchase. Supplier, you can go by a certain supplier or you can go all. For now, we'll go all. That way we can see all the purchase orders for all of my suppliers. And we can also look at all of the destinations. So once we are ready to go, we can go ahead and generate suggestions. And now it's going to give us all of our suggestions. So it's essentially going to give us that line by line item of what to order, when to order it, which we've already said, and how much to order. So if I have, let's see, I've got about 15, if we look down here at the bottom, of suggestions that we should be ordering this week. So if I click all of these, and they are automatically all clicked, but if I click reorder, this is going to create a bunch of purchase orders grouped together by supplier, which is going to be ultimately awesome because it's going to be saving you money on freight. And it's also going to just streamline your process and optimize it by only creating one PO per supplier as opposed to many with just one product each on it. Couple things to note on this page. So the reorder date is going to be today, and then it's also going to show you how many are available, how many are in order. So if you have really long purchase order lead times, it's going to tell you how many you already have ordered that are already incoming, and then it's going to have this reorder quantity. So if you do have cash flow constraints, or maybe you have deals with your suppliers, if you order a certain amount, you get a deal, you can always edit this number. This is kind of, again, one of those intersections of AI and human element. You know your business better than Foresight AI does. Foresight AI is obviously a very, very smart computer, but if you have any constraints, this is where you can always edit it. And all you have to do is change the number, it'll save, and we're good to go. So if you go ahead and click reorder, like I said, that is actually going to create a draft PO in your purchase orders for each of these items. And you can always unselect them all. And if you just want to do a couple, not a problem. That is also something that you can do. Once I click reorder, like I said, it'll go over into a draft PO. And then from there, all you have to do is approve it. And then it will send it on its way. So you can see the value in the time saved, as well as that reorder quantity guesswork almost immediately, right? This already comes into play so that you don't have to worry about it. So next we will go over reporting. So if we click into reports, again, we will see our purple Foresight AI. So if we click into reporting, we'll see that we have a sales forecast, an overstock, a stock out, and a winners and losers. So these reports are actually all available on that dashboard. So again, that product availability, everything like that, that's going to be right here. But it is going to, if you're looking for more reports to be able to, like I said, download and then use on the back end, you can always download those here. So just wanted to kind of point out that those are available to you. And then just as another pro tip, due to some constraints with reporting within Core, like I said, I would recommend specifically with the winners and losers to download that to get it into Excel so you can better access the information. Currently, it's in alphabetical order and doesn't allow for grouping. So the information there is there. It's just not as easily laid out as we would like it to be. However, this is something we're working on, so hold tight. But because you've attended this presentation, now you know that that's a pro tip. Okay, so now we will get into some of the fine tuning. So this is all great and it's very out of the box ready because we have this Foresight AI embedded integration into Core. However, there may be some fine tuning that you want to do into your account. So if we go back to that smart reorder screen, we have this forecast and settings button. So if you were familiar with the original Inventoro platform, we click into this, we're actually going to jump into something almost identical. And we'll just click out of that right now. So this is going to give you the same information, but just laid out slightly differently. So this forecast is going to match that forecast report that is available to you. Granted, that's going to be more Excel and more numbers, and this is going to give you an actual graph version. So it just kind of depends on how you want to view it, but just know that this is available to you as well. And in addition to that, you can actually alter this graph if you want to get more granular with your data. Again, you can use these filters at the top to start filtering on top of your current graph. So if we wanted to look at a certain warehouse, or maybe you wanted to look at certain warehouses and how certain products are performing within a warehouse, you're more than welcome to do that. You can also create forecast adjustments here. So if we were to click into this, I would say that the computer knows your business very well already. However, it can't account for future changes that it doesn't know. So in that case, something like a really big marketing push, pairing with a new distributor that's obviously very large, anything along those lines, you can create a change in percentage or a trend in percentage. Change in percentage would likely be like, one of those marketing pushes that's a little bit shorter term. Trend in percentage, partnering with a distributor that's going to be very large. And you can also change in quantity, and that would be just at a SKU level. I will say this Foresight AI does already account for your year-over-year growth. So unless you're having a large a period of growth that the computer likely won't be able to account for, then you can put it in here. But as far as like, your 15%, 20% year-over-year growth, that's not necessarily something to add here. So the fine tuning part that I wanted to point out is actually going to be over here in this top right-hand corner. So these are going to be all of the settings. And the big one that I want to point out is going to be the suppliers, warehouses, and edit arena. So suppliers is going to show you essentially all of your suppliers, the purchase order periods, and the lead times. This is all synced over from core. So ideally set it up from core, see it sync over here. These may be slightly different, and that's that AI piece recognizing that your purchase order lead times, purchase order period is going to be how frequently you order. Lead times is going to be how long it takes for you to get the item from ordering it to actually receiving it. So lead times might actually slightly vary, and Foresight AI is actually going to pick up on that. So if maybe you think, or generally speaking, the supplier does give you 14 days, however, they're pretty routinely like 15 or 16 days, Foresight AI is actually going to account for that, and it's going to tell you to order the item a few days sooner. That way you can actually get it on time. Next is going to be warehouses. And warehouses are going to be, this is going to be something that you're going to want to pay attention to as far as your setup. So we have warehouses set up in a hierarchical version. And what that means is it's going to track essentially like a waterfall, how you want your products to move from your supplier to their final destination. So in this case, I have locations 12 and 13 set up equally, right? So a supplier is going to feed into these equally. However, I'm probably going to have a lot more items go to location 3 than 12 because 3 is feeding into 2, which is feeding into 16, 17, and 15, etc. So something to note, just another pro tip, if you are using production jobs, make sure that you're checking where the production jobs are occurring. That's, again, going to help the computer calibrate on where the assembly jobs / production jobs are happening. And then we have our transfer lead times and our transfer purchase order period. And then last but not least, we have our edit arena. And it's early in the morning for the computer. Okay, let's try this one. So underneath this edit arena, this is where you can make settings on a SKU level. And I think that there might be a maintenance going on with my backend, which is not a problem. But as far as what you can do on this screen, this is where you can create a predecessor. You can create, which is linking essentially older data to newer data. What I mean by that is, generally speaking, Foresight AI needs 90 days of sales order history in order to link from an older item to a newer, or 90 days of sales history to start accurately doing a forecast. However, you can link an older item to a newer item so that it can start forecasting immediately. So that's a really cool feature. You can also change minimum order quantities, which is something that technically Foresight AI already calculates for you with safety stock, and it is dynamic. So in some months, it'll actually give you more safety stock if you have higher sales projected that month to account for that variability. And then if you have lower sales projected another month, it'll have a lower safety stock. However, you can have your own minimum inventory You can have a minimum order quantity. So that would be impacting that other screen of smart reorder, which we'll go ahead and just let it go right now. But anyway, the edit arena, you can go ahead if you decide to move forward, check it out. But again, that's a really, really good resource for fine tuning. And we will go ahead and go back to, we're already in our ForesightAI. We'll go to the dashboard. But let's actually hop into this screen. So essentially now we're kind of back at the beginning as I showed you the dashboard screen, but let me leave you with this. ForesightAI's advanced forecasting empowers businesses with affordable, intuitive tools to unlock efficiency, free up inventory capital, and never miss a sale. So if you like the information we just went over, please feel free to take advantage of our ForesightAI new sign-up offer, which is for the first 300 participants. We're giving away 6 months 50% off, and you can sign up for ForesightAI under your subscription tab in Core. But with that, please feel free to stick around and ask questions in the Q&A. We'll be sending out a copy of this recording and a follow-up email. Otherwise, thank you for joining and have a wonderful day. But with that, we will go to questions. If you are raising your hand, please put your question in the Q&A if possible. I will be prioritizing those. But with that, yeah, I will hop into questions. Give me just a Okay, first question. How does Foresight AI calculate winners? So that is a great question. So winners are calculated actually depending on what you want to choose. So if we go to that fine tuning, again, purchase, smart reorder, forecast, and settings. And this is a great call out because I didn't necessarily call it out earlier. But if we again go into that right part in the settings, if we go to product segmentation, we can actually change what we want winners to be calculated by. So in this case, I have it by profit, but you can change it to revenue, sales frequency, or sales quantity. So I would say, again, as a pro tip, make sure that you're keeping this for like a couple weeks or months before you change it, because generally like Foresight AI is going to focus on this strategy. So if you change it too frequently, you're not probably going to make too much headway in each one of these. So here's where you can change it. And then it does go against your own stock, obviously. So just kind of wanted to point that out as well. Next, what we need in Foresight AI should be how much materials and ingredients I need to produce 50,000 units within 3 months. So yes, if we go back to that smart reorder screen, that smart reorder is, like I said, there's a lot of complexity into the number that it's actually going to give you, but essentially, yes, it's going to give you it's going to give you a suggestion for the raw materials or ingredients to cover your next X amount of time until you reorder again. And it's going to give you that suggestion of the raw materials in order to complete, essentially, Foresight AI, let's say it's working backwards. So first it's going to create a forecast, right? It's going to create a sales forecast. And with that, it's going to give you an inventory forecast that matches. And so because of that, it's going to work backwards. So it's going to say, okay, we need X amount of final goods at this date or these concurrent dates to match the sales forecast. So how do we get there? We need to make sure that the final goods are at the final location at this time. Okay, so what is the transfer period to get from the other warehouse? Okay, let's look backwards that way. Then let's go backwards. Is it just coming from a supplier? Perfect. Okay, so then we need to go backwards of what's the lead time for that supplier. Or is there a production job? Okay, production job needs to happen here. So then we need to plan out even farther backwards of how much raw materials we need for the production job in order to be transferred, in order to go to the final product. So yes, it does account for all of that, but it is essentially working backwards from the sales forecast and the inventory forecast. And that's how a lot of how the algorithm works. Next, what if items are discontinued and we intentionally no longer wish to sell them? They will seem to be out of stock, but will still be included in the stock out percentage and lost revenue. Would this not result in report with some discrepancies? What gets factored into? And then, okay, so we'll start with that one, although I love the two-part question. So under forecast and settings, again, we're undergoing maintenance, it looks like, so it won't show me. But essentially, under the edit arena, you can change whether or not an item's orderable or visible. So if you're changing the orderability, that's just something that's not going to show up in your replenishment. So that's just not going to show up in Smart Reorder, but it will show up in your winners and losers, as well as, yes, your overstock amounts. But if you take out the visibility, then it won't show up anywhere at all. So it's not going to show up as a stock out. It's not going to show up as a reorder. And I would say that's probably the best way to do it. Or within core, you can actually discontinue the item, and then that will take it out as well. So you have kind of two options there. The second part of that is what gets factored in calculating overstock. So when is it considered a surplus or at risk? Is it measured by time, risk, or expiry, or is it dead stock that has not been moving for a while? Great question. That's a little bit of all of that. So I'm not privy to the actual algorithm. However, essentially what it's looking at is looking at what is your sales forecast? What is your then inventory forecast that matches that? And what is the safety stock? So, we're talking about the safety stock plus the inventory forecast, matching the sales forecast. Anything over that number is ideally probably going to be that overstock amount. And then, yes, there is dead stock, and that's going to be showing up in your overstock as well. Another question, if stock is mainly bought into one warehouse and transferred and sold into another, would this be picked up in Smart Reorder? Yes. So it'll just mean that your Smart Reorder is probably going to look just slightly more streamlined, because essentially you're going to have your suppliers, you're going to have your transfers, and then assemblies just won't be necessary for you. So very straightforward. Next, how do you access the inventory page you're on? Where is that in core? So the inventory page, I think I might need more inventory. Oh my gosh, thank you. Inventory report. So if we go into your dashboard and we go down, we have the overstock and understock. So like I said, the reporting is available. You can stock out healthy stock and overstock. And then we have, if you click into these will also be reports. But essentially, if you go into reporting, ForesightAI reports, and then you have all of the reporting here. But if you're asking for the report that's available, I've only gone over reports that are part of ForesightAI. Okay. Is Inventoro included in ForesightAI, or is it an add-on subscription? That is a great question. So ForesightAI is using the Inventoro algorithms, and essentially it's the same software. However, we've now made it available to you as an embedded experience within Core. So no longer are you going to be using Inventoro separately. All of that data and information is now available to you in Core. So it's the same the same technology, but now you're just having it as an add-on that you can use under your add on under your subscription, and you are only going to be billed within Core now, as opposed to having like a separate login for Inventoro and a separate billing for Inventoro. So now this is just all streamlined. So same technology, but now it's just in Core. Another question, can we get a recording of this demo? Yes, I will be sending that out after. Obviously, this is a Zoom webinar, so it does take some time. So please allow for 24 hours, but yes, this will be sent to you. Another question, when you have new products, how will the replenishment be calculated since Core needs 90 days of data? So it will show up as a new product. So in this case, if we were to go to, let's go to purchases in Smart Reorder. And if we go into that fine tuning, and so those settings and the forecast, essentially we'll have the winners and losers. But in this case, you'll have a green one that'll say new products, and it won't really be able to tell you how well it's performing, right? Because it's a new product, it's not going to be a loser, a chaser, or a winner. kind of in its own category until you have that 90 days of sales order history data. But like I said, under the edit arena, that predecessor feature is really big because you can link it to something similar, and then it'll immediately will put it in one of those categories. And then because of that AI and that ability to be constantly changing that sales order history in real time, it's going to make those constant micro adjustments so that you can get the best data. Can it deal with seasonal items? Can it recommend seasonal items that should be offered year long? Yes, it does. So it's not necessarily going to show you seasonality within Core and Foresight AI. However, on this screen, you can see the items. 3 is the number of items most vulnerable to seasonal trends. It is advisable to give special attention to these items both before the season and post season. So I can click on show products, and then it'll actually show me my 3 products. So it is going to help because Foresight AI sees these 3 items as being seasonal. When you go into the smart reorder, it is going to show you that those are something that you will be essentially ordering 1 or 2 times a year, but that smart reorder is going to account for that. So it's not going to tell you to order it year round. It is going to notice that you only sell those items once or twice a year, or a certain bell curve at a certain time of year, so that it's not going to tell you to have it constantly on hand. And that's kind of what I was talking about with that safety stock piece. Probably going to keep a low amount of safety stock, or maybe even want you to sell through all of that stock. That way you're not holding on to it in the off season when you're not selling it. What is the cost? The cost varies. It is based on your last 365 days of sales. So it does vary account to account. However, if you do want to know the amount, you can go into your subscription. So if you click into your subscription in your core, you can see it as an add-on. You do have to go through and pretend like you're buying it. And then it does automatically give you that 50% off. So just double the number there. However, if you do want to contact me, zoe.zawacki@sin7.com, which again, we'll be going out with the email, you can ask me to verify your pricing and I'd be happy to do that for you. Next question. How do you participate in the savings? Do you sign up on it for monthly as we are now? Yes. So that savings, that 50%, 6 months is already going to be applied to your account. It's already going to be applied to the amount. So like I said, if you are going to sign up in your subscription, it is going to give you that 50% off. So as far as what it looks like after the 6 months, just go ahead and double that number. But again, happy to verify that number for you. Can you show how to link a new product to an older product data for the forecasting? So we'll try again. Because of the maintenance, it's not letting me pull up a product. But let's see if maybe it's done. Yeah, give me just a second. I actually might be able to show you the knowledge base article. Okay, cool. So right now, I think it might still technically be Inventoro, but help.inventoro.com is a really awesome resource. So if we go to product and we type the product name here, this is essentially what the predecessor feature looks like. And this is essentially what I was trying to show you is the edit arena. So to show the product, the supplier, the warehouse, packing, predecessor. But essentially, if you click on the predecessor, you can link it. So right now, the new product is going to be coconut water. However, I want to link it to sports drink and then I can click confirm. So really, really straightforward and very easy to do. How does stock out percentage, is it calculated? Is it considered when we don't have goods or an order gets authorized? So that's a great question. Stock outs are really straightforward in that you just don't have the stock. And so the stock out percentage is exactly that, the SKUs that you don't have in stock. So if we go back, we can actually, if we go on the dashboard, we can see the stock out. So if I click on the stock out, it is going to give us a report of all the items that are stocked out and how many days you've had it and stocked out. So again, you can get pretty granular with your data. So it's going to go by location. Again, if you want to, you can go ahead and export this report and then you can filter it differently. But in this location, I have these 4 products that are stocked out. They've been in stock out for 3 days. They're all winners. And then it's going to tell you how many lost sales you have of each of those and the lost revenue exactly that you have so far and the lost margin. So I would say that the stock out percentage is not necessarily it's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot that necessarily goes into that. But keeping in mind like how many days you've been stocked out, I think is really interesting, because if you've been stocked out quite a bit, you might have lost quite a bit more revenue. And that's something that I would definitely focus on. And again, focusing on the winners that are stocked out. So in this case, if I have cash flow constraints between product 350 and product 351, and I'm between a winner and a chaser, I'm definitely going to want to be spending more time. Or again, like I said, if you have cash flow constraints, definitely focusing on the winner being stocked out as opposed to the chaser, because this is going to be a faster mover that you're going to probably be missing out on more revenue here versus here. Is there any weighting for sales quotes to sales orders for current period? Is there a way to tie in history to quotes to actual orders? So this isn't necessarily going to be looking at quotes. This is going to be looking specifically at that sales order history data. So sales quotes are not necessarily going to be a factor in here, because that is something that may or may not have happened, I guess. How much it's going to look at essentially that sales actual order, because it's looking at just the conversion. It's not necessarily going to be super helpful to the actual inventory management if you're just looking at a quote of what might have happened. Because if a quote didn't actually convert, then that information is not incredibly useful. And we have time for one more. How do you access the ForesightAI page? Again, purchase, smart reorder, forecast, and settings. And because that was an easy one, I'll do one more. How can this be used in a manufacturing industry where they're produced more than 10,000 units per week? So that is the assembly piece that I was talking about. So first I would focus on purchasing, right? So in this case today, these are all the purchases I need to make. But let's say we want to look at the assembly that's happening for this week. We can see that at this certain location, I need to be creating this product. I should be doing it, starting that assembly job today. This is the unit of measure. This is how many are available. This is how many I should be making. And then all of that, though, this is telling you essentially what you should be doing. And if I click reorder, this is going to actually create an assembly, this is going to create an assembly or a production job in that module. And then you can actually start to create it there. So this is going to essentially keep you on track timing wise and actual number wise on what you should be doing. So I will leave you with that. However, there is a lot of nuances, and as part of the 6 months, 50% off, we are offering free onboarding. However, that's only through November 1st. But the free onboarding would be the people that would help you out with that manufacturing industry piece of being able to really fine tune this. All right, that is pretty much at time. However, if you do have any questions, I will definitely reach back out to you in those emails to give you that information. So I won't leave you hanging. However, because we are at time, I will say thank you so much for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your day. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, zoe.zawacki@sin7.com, and I will answer those questions for you there. However, thank you so much for joining and have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.